It is very demanding because it's not just one kind of work. It's not just a workout, or not just an embodiment practice, or not just a deity yoga visualization practice, or it's everything, and it constantly hits on all these different levels, known and unknown, and it's a little bit like you're shaking a sieve, and stuff falls out, and then what's left is like the bigger pieces, and it's a very multi-layered process. And in the context of that multi-layered process, a few things happen. One of the things that happen is you will see where there's pockets of, let's say, fatigue, right? Which we all have, because we all have areas where we're hyper competent, and these hyper competent pockets hold a lot of energy. And if you are relieved of that, the need for competency, or if you allow yourself to be relieved of that need of competency, we should say, because not everybody does, but if you allow yourself to be relieved of that, then what happens is you'll have a surge, and then you have a dip, because the held energy goes, and then what's left is the fatigue that's under the gathering of the push, right? And so that's a fairly normal thing. And if you can just hang with that and go, okay, this is the area where I'm a little bit deficient from the pure will and sheer force, then you can source vitality from a different place. Well, you can just go, oh, I don't have to clench as much here. If I don't clench as much here, I have a lot more available energy that flows to that. Because the clench, right, binds energy. So there's a way to work with that. And so if you have these dips, the way to go there is to essentially just note. Neither fight nor try to re-engage, but just kind of go, oh, okay, all right, there it is. And then just let that clench subside enough that the next, that the wave from underneath can come. And that's a very useful way to work with, areas of competency particularly, is that ever so often you relax it all the way and you relax all the clench. But sometimes when you spend a lot of time in that soup of the thing that is the flow of the void into the vortex, right, that kind of a thing, then actually giving some structure is the medicine, right? Which is why there's different practices for this. Brings us back to what you were asking. There's different practices for different states of being, for different times of the year, for different places in your cycle, both monthly and throughout your life. So that's why there is so many practices that you can essentially deepen into and then use as needed, because the kind of the hub of the experience in everything that I've created as work, right? The work, I don't want to say because that sounds horrible. As practice, let's say, is centered around being able to have what is called interoceptive awareness, right? The ability to feel your own inner landscape. And when you can reliably feel your own inner landscape, then you can administer what is needed, right? This is what Shia is talking about, where she's saying, I'm having a dialogue with these parts of me, and I will know what is needed. Because our mind is one thing, right? Our emotions is another thing. But the faculty that is the vast knowledge of the body is an entirely different thing. And so the way in is, like you said, oh, I could feel different things were happening when you moved linearly. So maybe that's the remedy for right now. Maybe that is what's needed, a bit of structure, structured movement. Maybe even some meditation, God forbid. Those kind of things that actually create a bit of a, let's say, scaffolding for you to build yourself up in. You know. So I had this very odd, I had to have a wisdom tooth taken out, and then they told me I had to have a bone graft back there so that the bone wouldn't go away and, whatever. I'll turn eventually. So I really did not want bone, right? Because it's cadaver bone, and I like possessed, exactly. Thank you. Yes, so that's exactly what it felt like. I was going to pick up some crazy motorcyclist who perished, in the mountains of wherever, into my DNA, but they actually clean out the DNA. So I researched it very carefully, but I'm saying this to say that I was like, well, how the fuck is this going to work, right? And if you've ever had a bone graft, essentially what they do is they chop up that bone really fine. It's this horrible grit, and they stuff it into your gums, and then they tie it up. It's a little bit like stuffing a chicken or something like that. But the reason I'm telling you this is that the most miraculous thing about this is that then our own bone, my own bone, uses that bone material, it recognizes it as bone material, and it uses it as a scaffold, literally, as like a support material to grow my own bone. And then my own bone gets rid of and discards the other bone. That is pretty fucking amazing, right? And I could feel it. It was really creepy to feel it too, right? Like you can feel this. I could feel the stuff grow, and so that is what we're capable of, right? So if you need a scaffold, then you'll take a scaffold. If you need to not have a scaffold because you're way too rigid and everything in your life is linear, and this might be a bit of an answer for you now that I'm thinking about it, was that you're working out, you're doing the thing, and there might need a little bit of, exactly, you have a little bit too much scaffold, you might need a bit of scaffold, right? And that changes in the circumstances, in our, as we age, both ways. So it's a good consideration to go, yeah, maybe I want to do a bit of like linear exploration. And if that's what you want to do, I can give you a whole bunch of linear options, this being one of them. You're still sensitizing because you're following your breath, which is one of the single most sensitizing momentums there is, right? People do that in meditation as well, where they follow their breath. But if you follow your breath with motion, you're in that cat-cow, which is kind of a hydraulic motion, which also pumps your spinal fluid. It's so, it's one of those things, right? People don't actually understand how many layers it works, but it works it ticks every single box, right? It's the cerebrospinal fluid, it's your pelvic floor, it's your organs, it's your diaphragm. It's, that kind of motion synchronizes the hemispheres of your brain, blah, 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 blah. So there's like endless benefit in all dimensions. And at the same time, you're getting highly sensitized to the needs of your body, and you're rewilding your body into, natural breath. And with that functioning, regulatable, I should say, nervous system. Having a regulated nervous system, it doesn't mean you're always calm. It means that your nervous system can take care of business. Right? That's a very different thing than Zen'd out at all times, which is useless particularly if you live out in the wild, right? That's where the cats come back in handy. It's like, sleep, 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 right? I have a cat fight on my hands down there at my place because there's a stray cat that comes and hangs out with me, and the black cat is not amused. So the cat goes from 0 to 100 in like that. And then he comes back in, I think it's a girl. She comes back in and lays back down. No, that's a well-regulated nervous system. No PTSD in that cat. Yeah.